In the cold winter of 2015, in the heart of New York City, my 7-year-old self, for the very first time, got to do something incredible. For the first time in my life, I got to use a crosswalk. Being as young as I was, it felt incredible. The red light stopped all the cars as my legs could freely walk across that beautiful concrete with nothing to stop me. Everything in that moment felt perfect. Looking around the rest of Manhattan, all I could see was this city with incredibly tall skyscrapers, beautiful streets and architecture, no traffic, and happy faces all around. Now, guessing by the look on most of your faces, most of you don't see New York that way. But there's the reason I saw it this way. The first 9 years of my life, I grew up in India, where urban life looked very different compared to what most of us are used to. Sure, I had seen a crosswalk and knew what it was for, but using it with that traffic was kind of difficult. And there were a lot of other parts about our life that were different too. We always had traffic, the streets were polluted, there was always some sort of noise, and the only rule we seemed to agree on was road is road. And sure, while on the surface that may sound like a nightmare for a lot of us here today, for me and 1.5 billion other people, that was normal everyday life. We grew up seeing chaotic streets with nobody using a crosswalk. But when I was 9 years old, I moved to California and a lot changed. There were so many new aspects and opportunities in this country that I didn't want to focus on any of the bad. The fact that I could walk to school all by myself on a perfectly paved sidewalk with cars that drove responsibly was a feeling I still cherish to this day. When I went to San Francisco for the first time, all I saw was this city with incredible views, incredible weather, clean streets, and exclusively rich people. Now, obviously, that's not true. But why did it feel true back then? Most species, when put into a new environment, feel strange and untrustworthy of their surroundings. So, how come I was enjoying this new country without an ounce of fear? Well, it was my positive bias. The tendency of people to solely focus on positive aspects while dismissing the negative ones. I went around the US ignoring, almost blind to all the negative things that surrounded me. One main reason people tend to have a positive bias is to protect themselves. And that's exactly what I was doing. I was trying to protect the perfect life that I'd envisioned here in the US. I wanted to focus on the fact that I could finally bike to school for myself, be more independent, and eat Chipotle. Now, we as humans, we tend to do one of two things. We either are grateful for life, appreciating many of the things that we get to experience, but most of us tend to take things for granted, not realizing how lucky we are to have them. How this works with different groups is really interesting. Studies find that 77% of Asian American immigrants believe that the US provides them better opportunities than their home country. Meanwhile, 66% of them believe that it provides them better education and a better life for their kids. So obviously, immigrants like myself tend to have this really strong positive bias towards the US. What about American citizens? Well, recent studies find that almost half of US adults like to move to another country because they believe that the US is not providing them enough. So while millions of people all across the globe view the US as this beacon of hope, promising them a better life, half of the people here have already lost hope and are trying to move to another country. Now, going back to my own story, when I was 9 years old and I first moved here, I came here and I obviously thought that the US was this picture-perfect place. But by the time I was 11 or 12, I also started to become more like Americans and started to take things for granted. I went to school every day with kids who grew up in the US, and I tried to fit in with them, so I tried to think and act like them. I'd hear them complain about how they had to ride their bikes to school, so I started complaining about that too. I heard them complain about traffic and other issues, so I did too. I'd hear them complaining about all these issues with the United States, so I did too. I had completely forgotten how lucky I was to actually live here. So imagine how I felt when I went back to India in the summer of 2023. I had lived in the US for 6 years. I'd gotten very used to life here, and like most of us, I took my life here for granted. But when I went back and I saw the messy and chaotic streets again, the traffic, and I heard the cars honking and came back to that chaotic life, I quickly started to miss the US. I took back all the complaints I had, realizing how lucky I actually was to live there, and I couldn't wait to come back. But after spending just 2 days in India, something changed. I no longer missed the US. I started to enjoy being in India again. Living in the United States for so long, part of me forgot how beautiful and vibrant the culture there actually was. But that's what happens when you get taken out of your country. A life that I had dreamed of every single day soon became a life that I was living every single day. And I completely forgot how lucky I was to actually be there. But on that trip, I also realized that when I lived in India, I took my life there for granted. There were so many aspects that the US had provided me that India never could. But India had also provided me with so much that the US never did. I never realized how special it was to actually live with my grandparents and see them every day, to play cricket with my friends, or to be part of the festives and cultures that we had there in India. This time, when I came back to the US, there was no longer a positive bias inside me. There was no longer any bias inside me. What I realized is, most of us in life don't actually know what we have. We only focus on what we don't have. We focus on what we want, what we could have. I never knew it then, but when I lived in India, I took everything I had for granted. And when I came to the US and I was grateful for so many things, I started to envision a picture-perfect life, ignoring issues that surrounded me. And it is human nature to want more, to always strive for more. But in that hunt for wanting more, we sometimes forget about the gifts that life has already given us. When I lived in India, all I wanted more than anything was to move to the US, to live a better life. But in that yearn for wanting to live a better life, I lost a part of my culture for so many years. So while it's okay to take things for granted and complain about them sometimes in order to want more, it's important that we never forget about the gifts that life has already given us. Because if we aren't grateful for them, they may get lost in the abyss of our desires. Thank you.
Thank you, Vivaan. Up next, we have our charades activity.